5:02 local time, October 14th, 2025. Kursk axis. You don't hear the Challenger 2 arrive. That's the first misconception people have about 70 plus tons of British armour. At idle, with the Perkins 512 throttled low and exhaust diffused by cold forest air, the tank doesn't announce itself. It settles, tracks press into damp soil, hydro-pneumatic suspension compresses until the hull disappears behind the rise. Challenger 2, call sign Reaper, inches forward until only the turret crown clears the ridgeline. Hull down, silhouette fractured by branches and early morning fog. Inside the turret, everything is calm in a way only machines and trained crews can manage. 17 degrees Celsius, electronics like consistency. The fire control system completes its final diagnostics without throwing a single fault. Thermal sights come alive, translating the world into gradients instead of colors. At these ranges, heat isn't glowing anymore. It's contrast, geometry, and probability. 5 kilometers out, something resolves near a broken tree line. An infantry fighting vehicle is idling longer than doctrine allows. Its engine block burns white against the colder soil beneath it. A Ukrainian reconnaissance drone, no bigger than a backpack, hovers several hundred meters closer, feeding encrypted bearing, range, and movement vectors straight into Reaper's systems. You watch the laser rangefinder pulse once, then again, confirming the distance. 5.3 kilometers. The ballistic computer doesn't pause. Wind speed is 8 kilometers per hour from the northeast. Crosswind drift calculated. Ambient air pressure logged. Barrel temperature compensated. Spin drift factored in because this gun is rifled and, at this distance, that detail matters. The L30A1 is not a smoothbore designed for brute force. It is a precision instrument. 6.5 meters of steel meant to put a dart exactly where physics says it will land. The commander confirms through his panoramic sight, scanning independently while the gunner tracks the same target. Hunter-killer mode active. The loader slides a Charm APFSDS round into the breech, muscles remembering a motion practiced thousands of times. Depleted uranium long rod penetrator, no explosive filler, it doesn't need one. At roughly 1650 meters per second, the round will remain supersonic deep into its flight. Fire. The gun discharges with a controlled concussion. Recoil dampeners absorb the violence. The turret barely shifts. 3.2 seconds later, 5 kilometers away, the penetrator arrives. It doesn't explode, it cuts. Armor gives way, then engine components, then open space, then crew compartment. The thermal signature collapses instantly, the IFV reduced to a cooling hook before the sound of the shot even rolls back across the trees. Kill confirmed. The echo matters. On a battlefield saturated with sensors, sound and dust are data. Somewhere overhead, a Russian reconnaissance drone registers the disturbance. Somewhere farther back, artillery fire direction teams begin plotting angles. And closer than either of those, something small, fast, and very angry is already moving. You see it before you hear it. An FPV drone comes in low, electric motors screaming, skimming just meters above the ground. It isn't guided by radio waves. It doesn't care about jamming. A fiber optic cable trails behind it, thinner than a human hair, feeding uncompressed video straight to its operator's eyes. This drone doesn't listen to the air. It listens through the glass. Impact. The explosion hits the turret roof just aft of the commander's hatch. Inside, the crew feels a violent hammer blow. Instruments flicker. One external optic goes dark. Dorchester composite armor disperses the shaped charge's energy through layered ceramics and steel, designed to defeat far larger threats than a 2-kilogram warhead. Spall liners flex. Internal fire suppression stays silent. There is no penetration. The crew is alive. If you're loving how Western tanks are dominating the drone era, hit that like and subscriber button right now.
Reverse.
The commander says, voice steady. The driver feeds power smoothly, not slamming the throttle, letting the tank slide back off the ridge. Smoke grenades fire automatically, thick diesel-based clouds billowing outward to mask thermal, optical, and laser signatures. Seconds later, Mortar rounds slam into the empty firing position, throwing dirt and splintered wood skyward where Reaper no longer is. 300 meters west, the tank settles again into another depression. Hull down. Only the turret is exposed. The gunner is already scanning. A new contact resolves at 4.6 kilometers. Another BMP-3 repositioning, unaware it's already been measured. The ballistic solution updates instantly. Slight temperature change, minor elevation shift, wind correction refined. The commander designates, passing the target seamlessly. Fire. The second APFSDS round strikes lower this time, tearing through the engine block and exiting the far side. Fuel ignites. The vehicle slews, then stops, smoke pouring from every seam. 2 vehicles destroyed from beyond ranges that many tanks would never attempt. That's when the sky becomes hostile. Not 1 FPV this time. 3. Staggered deliberately. One comes in low from the left, aiming for side armor. Another dives steep from above, trying for the turret roof. A third skirts wide and shallow, lining up on the glacis. Their operators are learning. The first detonates against the side skirt, ripping away external stowage and tools. The second slams into the rear turret bustle, tearing off a storage bin and antennas. The third strikes the glacis at an oblique angle and detonates uselessly. Its shaped charge jet dispersing across composite armor, never meant to be defeated by something this small. Inside, the impacts are violent but survivable. Alarms chirp warnings, the tank shudders, but there is no fire, no overpressure, no catastrophic chain reaction. Ammunition sits isolated behind armoured bulkheads, not stacked around the crew in a carousel. Fire suppression systems stand ready but unnecessary. This is design philosophy made real. Then a heavier thermal signature breaks through the smoke, broader, hotter. A Russian T-90M creeping forward behind sparse cover, turret scanning, unaware it's already inside someone else's firing solution. Range 3.8 kilometers. The commander tracks it through his independent sight, hands it off. The gunner's reticle locks. The loader is already moving, hands blackened with oil and soot, ramming another charm round into place. Wind updated, temperature logged, barrel wear compensated. Fire. The penetrator impacts just below the turret ring. Armor fails. Inside the tank, ammunition ignites. A violent flash blooms through the thermal sight as the turret lifts and twists. When the smoke clears, the signature is gone. 3 kills. Now, the Russians answer properly. Artillery begins to walk in. The first round lands 30 meters short. The next, closer. Dirt rains onto the turret roof. Branches snap overhead like rifle fire. The commander doesn't wait for the bracket to close. Smoke deploys again. Infrared obscurants flood the gap between Reaper and every sensor hunting it. The driver pulls them back into the trees, tracks chewing wet earth, engine steady. Overhead, another FPV dives, but never reaches its target. A burst of rifle fire from nearby Ukrainian infantry shreds it mid-air, fragments tumbling into the undergrowth. Reaper pauses just long enough for the gunner to bring the sight back up. Another contact is already forming on thermal, and the ballistic computer is already working. The thermal picture sharpens as the gunner refines focus. Heat blooms emerge and fade as the fire control system filters clutter, stripping away burning wreckage and false positives. This far out, the battlefield doesn't look like chaos. It looks like math. Distances, vectors, angles. And right now, the math says the Russians are trying to box Reaper in. A new contact appears at 5 kilometers. Then another, slightly offset to the south. Light vehicles. Probably a recovery team moving too soon, assuming the drones and artillery have done their job. The commander tracks both through his panoramic sight, hands one off to the gunner, keeps the other for himself. Hunter-killer doesn't mean faster shooting. It means never stopping the flow of targets. Fire. The round reaches out again, threading between smoke curtains and shattered trees. One vehicle disappears in a sharp thermal spike. The second slams on its brakes, reverses hard, then vanishes behind cover. That hesitation matters. Every second the Russians spend reacting is a second they're not aiming. But the pause costs Reapers something else. You hear it this time. A rising whine layered over the distant thump of artillery. FPVs, more than before. Not 3, not 4, a full wave. They come in high and low, some nearly vertical, others skimming the treetops. Speeds vary, deliberately. Some carry shaped charges, others carry fragmentation sleeves meant to shred optics and antennas. One even drags a trailing wire, hoping to snag something exposed. This isn't harassment. This is a coordinated kill attempt. The commander doesn't panic. He's already seen this pattern in other sectors. He orders smoke again, not to hide, but to force the drones to commit blind. Infrared obscurants bloom thick and hot, creating false thermal walls that confuse depth perception. Some drones plunge straight through and detonate uselessly. Others hesitate, operators unsure whether they're looking at a tank or smoke. One doesn't hesitate. It punches through the cloud and slams into the turret cheek, just forward of the gunner's sight. The explosion is violent enough to rattle teeth. Inside, the gunner is thrown forward, helmet slamming against padding. Warning lights flare red. The main thermal sight flickers, then goes black. For a fraction of a second, the tank is blind. This is where design becomes survival. The commander immediately shifts to his independent sight, still functional. He slews the turret manually, feeding bearing and elevation verbally to the gunner, who switches to backup optics without needing to be told. The loader braces, already pulling the next round. The driver keeps the hull steady, minimizing movement to stabilize the firing solution. Another FPV strikes the side, tearing off an external fuel canister in a flash of flame. Fire suppression activates instantly, foam flooding the compartment, extinguishing the blaze before it can spread. The interior remains breathable. The crew remains operational. Artillery arrives almost simultaneously. Not ranging rounds now, a full salvo. Airburst munitions crack overhead, spraying fragments downward. Dirt and metal hammer the turret roof. One fragment punches through a non-critical external panel and lodges harmlessly in insulation. The tank rocks, but holds. The commander knows they can't stay.
Move, now!
The driver pours on power, the Perkins engine growling as 70 tons of armor lurches forward through brush and fallen trees. Suspension absorbs shocks that would cripple lighter vehicles. Smoke trails behind them, masking movement. FPVs chase, but terrain breaks line of sight. Trees force split-second course corrections. 2 drones clip branches and detonate harmlessly. Another overshoots and slams into the ground behind them. They break into a shallow ravine and stop. Silence. For 3 seconds. Then the recon feed updates. Russian armor is pulling back. Vehicles abandoning exposed ground. Infantry dismounting and scattering. The artillery fire shifts elsewhere, chasing ghosts. Reaper has done what it was meant to do. It has frozen a section of the front by making movement lethal. But the crew doesn't relax. They know the last threat is the most dangerous. A single FPV, faster than the rest, appears high and drops almost vertically. It's aiming for the engine deck. The driver sees it first through his periscope and swerves instinctively, throwing the tank sideways just enough to spoil the angle. The drone detonates against the rear slope of the hull, its shaped charge splashing harmlessly across armor meant to defeat kinetic penetrators. Inside, alarms fade one by one. The gunner brings the sight back up. Backup optics only, limited field of view. Enough. A final target appears on thermal at extreme range, 5 kilometers again. A lone IFV attempting to flee along a dirt track, betting on distance to save it. The commander doesn't rush. He knows this is the last shot before they disappear for good. Wind is recalculated, temperature updated, barrel wear factored in. The ballistic computer offers a solution that borders on the edge of probability. Fire. The round arcs out into the haze. Time stretches. 3 seconds. 4. Impact. The IFV erupts, skidding sideways off the track and into the ditch. No secondary explosions, just silence. Reaper doesn't wait to admire the result. The tank reverses deeper into cover, then angles away, disappearing into forest shadow where drones struggle and artillery guesses. By the time Russian sensors reorient, there's nothing left to shoot at. Hours later, analysts will count the damage. Multiple IFVs destroyed. A modern Russian tank was eliminated. Artillery diverted. Drones expended for no return. All caused by a single Western main battle tank, used not as a breakthrough hammer, but as a long-range predator. Inside Reaper, the crew finally allows themselves to breathe. The tank is scarred now. Optics damaged, external equipment torn away, paint scorched and blistered. But the gun still works. The engine still turns. The crew climbs out alive. And that's the real lesson of this fight. In a battlefield dominated by drones, numbers alone don't win. Survivability does. Precision does. The ability to take hits, adapt instantly, and keep fighting matters more than speed or mass. Western tank design assumed contact, assumed damage, assumed chaos, and built for crews to live through it. On the Kursk axis, Challenger 2 didn't charge forward into glory. It waited, it measured, it fired from beyond expectation, and vanished before retaliation could finish the job. You can jam signals, you can swarm the sky, you can rain artillery until the earth shakes, but you still can't argue with physics, armor, and a well-placed shot from 5 kilometers away. Bye for now.